So, to understand the Russian language, you must first understand the importance of looking at the alphabet before actually moving on to learning some of the simple vocabulary words and grammar and the very basic grammar structure before moving on to the actual completing of the simple complete sentences. Now first we will look at the alphabet that the Russians use. The alphabet that the Russians use is the Cyrillic alphabet, which contains 33 letters, which is similar to that of the English language, but there are some sounds that are similar to English and look like English letters, but are actually completely different. For example, the R sound actually is a P looking word in the Russian language, so that can be kind of confusing. And also, they have some sounds that are represented by a single letter in the Russian language, like the sound sh is represented by a W looking letter, and some of the, well, obviously we have like the word I, which is represented by a single letter. The same thing goes for Russian. They have the word ya, which means I. And then they have all the other pronouns like he, she, you, formal, you, informal, and they. And like, obviously, he or she is a gender. It's masculine or feminine. So all nouns have different genders. They could be masculine, feminine, or neutral, and it's dependent upon these genders of how these nouns are broken out to in the different cases. And then whenever you learn verbs, you learn the infinitive, which is to do something, like to read or to talk, not I am talking about or he is talking about. It's to do a particular action. And it's pretty important because each of these declensions can have effects upon how the nouns that are performing the actions are actually broken down into. And the nouns can be broken out into 6 different ways depending on the particular part of the sentence they are acting in, or their cases. There are 6 cases in the Russian language. They are nominative, accusative, genitive, dative, prepositional, and instrumental. Well, your 2 simplest cases in the Russian language are nominative and accusative. Nominative is the subject. Accusative is the direct object of the verb. Genitive shows possession or numeric value. Dative shows something. Prepositional shows location. Instrumental shows the accompaniment. And then, so the simplest example would be, I love dogs. So you would say, "Я люблю суки," which is "я," I, would be the nominative. "Люблю" would be the broken out form of I love, and then "суки" is dogs in Russian as the direct object, so it would be in the accusative case. And then next, you can probably guess that there's a slightly different sentence structure between the English and the Russian language. And the main difference is in the genitive case. When words are in the genitive case, which shows possession, they usually come after the object of which they are possessing. So whenever you say, Robert's book was left here, you're saying the book of Robert was left here. And that's really the only difference. Everything else, like the nominative and the accusative. The nominative comes first, and the accusative comes last. So the subject and the predicate. And then prepositional, it's just like on the book, so it will obviously come last. But obviously, you can see that there's like many similarities, but then there's also many differences. Like, if you think of the English language, it can be a little bit complicated for a newcomer to learn. Like, the simplest phrases aren't even full sentences. Like, you have, my name is blah blah blah, or I do not speak English, or do you speak English, or please and thank you. That doesn't really contain a whole sentence structure. Same thing goes with Russian. My name is actually Меня зовут ... Меня зовут literally means they call me. I mean, thinking about it, it doesn't make any sense. And then, I do not speak Russian. It does actually make a little bit of sense with this one. It's Я не говорю по-русски. I do not speak in Russian, or Я не говорю русский язык. I do not speak the Russian tongue. And then, do you speak English? Ты говоришь русский язык. Английский язык. And then, please is пожалуйста. And then, thank you is спасибо. So even like the smallest words can make absolutely no sense, but to Russians they do. And then just thinking about the more common phrases, you know that there are some sentences that are just kind of difficult to comprehend until you actually get started to learning it. Learning the basics is the most important thing you can do whenever trying to learn any kind of language, but especially with Russian. Because there are so many similarities between English and Russian, it's pretty simple, or pretty easy, to become confused between the two. So we went over the alphabet and some simple words and the grammatical cases and the sentence structure and common phrases. And what I hope you take away from this is a desire to learn more. I mean, you could decide that you don't even want to look at this ever again because it could be the most complicated thing you've ever heard of. But it could be the most enjoyable too. So, good luck if you decide to take this any further.